It's so exciting, guys, to finally have the last piece of the puzzle. We finally have the last measurement and counting of time times and a half a time. In this video, we're going to go through and summarize the book of Daniel, the book of Revelation, all of the points by which it says a time times and a half a time, 1,260 days, 42 months. And for many of you watching this, I know you're somewhat familiar, if you follow this channel, some of these terms, okay? But where they are in the prophecy and how we actually know when they start and when they end is a mystery. It's not easy. But once we found Daniel chapter 10 and 12, we found the last point, okay, of measuring of the time. So you measure the time from when it starts, okay, and it has a conclusion. Now, not all those time periods fall within, okay, one begins, one ends, etc. But we're going to go through them in this video. So I laugh because many of you don't know these details, okay, but then you criticize me for the information I'm saying. I'm saying we're in the apocalypse. I'm saying the time is at hand, but you don't actually know what the Bible says. You just don't like it, so you try to come up with some excuse. But I want to have a little bit of a different approach as we get into the timeline, which we will. We'll get into the timeline. But before we do, I want to approach this in a different way than what we normally do. Okay, I teach this, and you watch the video, and you say, okay, Leland says this, Leland says that. Leland opens the Bible, but, you know, you're looking at me. You're thinking that, okay, I'm just coming up with this. This is what I think. I'm just making this up, okay? But let's do a role reversal, okay? Instead of you watching me, let's do a role reversal. Let's say instead of you watching the video and you watching me, let's say you are me. Let's say you are in my shoes. Let's say that the things we're going to show you, what would you do if you knew the information? What would you do if the things that we're sharing here, you knew them? What if you knew this information? What if you knew it and you posted it public, okay? Let's think about that, all right? The reason I say that is because, you know, if you don't know anything about prophecy or the Bible, you never studied it, it's okay. You're a lay person or whatever. This channel is for disciples. The most important information, the most important thing you can do on the face of the earth is learn Bible prophecy in the time of the Lord Jesus Christ, okay? It could cost the eternity of your soul if you're ignorant and you know. So that's why this is so important. It's so important. We can't emphasize it enough. So when I came across this information, it drastically changed my life. So people say, oh, okay, Leland, you're an example. You sold all your... Well, what would you do? What would you do if you had this information? Well, I knew it would cost me everything. I knew that this was the most important thing I could ever do, I could ever know. The most important thing I could ever do and understand is the book of Revelation and Daniel. So I set aside everything in my life. I ceased everything to go after that. And then I've now got the last line drawn, okay? But what if you knew this? What if you posted this and you shared it with the people and you could say in advance of the prophecy, okay, this is when this is going to happen. It's 1,260 days. That's the time period of the seals. Okay? So there are 7 seals. The time period of those 7 seals is 3.5 years. You have 7 seals. Then you have 7 trumpets. Okay? 3.5 years. 7 trumpets. How long do they last? time period of 3.5 years. And of course, we have 7 bowls. What is their line? What is their time period? 3.5 years. What if you knew that? What if you knew that 5.5 years ago? Now, I say this because I say in all these videos, guys, I'm having this approach, I'm having this talk with you, because I tell you over and over and over, please go back and watch the previous video. Please go back, go to the links in the description field and follow the playlist, okay? But you don't listen to me. And then you comment, You watch 30 minutes and then you comment and go, but you're not listening. So I'm not going to listen to you. I'm just going to delete your comments, right? Because that's a lack of respect of the work we're doing, okay? So if you show a lack of respect, I'm going to show a lack of respect for you. So let's again go back to our shoes, all right? So let's say you are in my shoes and you knew this information and you knew it 5.5 years ago and you posted it to YouTube. Let's say it is you that posted to YouTube 5.5 years ago, July 29, 2015, the precise start of the tribulation period. The 7-year tribulation period would begin on September 22nd, 2017. Let's say that's you. Let's put you in my shoes. You posted that on YouTube for the world to see. Let's say you knew at that time, 5.5 years ago, that the 7 bowls last 3.5 years. The 7 trumpets last 3.5 years. The trumpets and bowls follow the Revelation 12 sign. Let's say you posted that to YouTube for the world to see, and you had very few people watching, you had very few people listening, okay? But you posted that saying, guys, let's watch for a trigger event July 25th, 2015 to see if Daniel's timeline starts, if there's a trigger event. Watch for this date. And it happened. The Baphomet statue in the Satanic Temple in Detroit, Michigan triggered Daniel's timeline. So the timeline is accurate. And we have other videos to show the prophecy being fulfilled. But let's say you knew this information in advance when the seals would start. And you posted it to YouTube February 23rd, 2016. And you could prove that the seals also last 3.5 years, proved through the book of Esther. Let's say you knew this information in advance. You posted it in YouTube before it happens. Wouldn't you watch? Okay, wouldn't you read the Bible? Wouldn't you study the prophecy to see if it would happen? To see what it looks like? Wouldn't you dedicate your entire life to understanding this information? Okay, wouldn't you draw it in diagrams to try to explain to the people the details of the Bible prophecy? What would you do if you knew that information? What would you do now if you're living in those days? Guys, we posted this. We showed you these diagrams over and over. You can see in that last video, you had 2,000 views. That's what I'm saying. I know you're not listening to me. You're watching these views. You're saying, oh, Leland says this, Leland says that. But you're not understanding the prophecies we have spoken 5.5 years ago, 4 years ago. Okay? 5 years ago, both of these were 5 years ago, okay? This is the accurate information we're sharing with you. So when we say this is the summary of Daniel and Revelation, many of these things have been fulfilled on precise dates. Go back and watch the videos, learn the prophecy, okay? You'll see it is so. Look, guys. I know you guys think we're going to be here forever and we're going to be able to post videos. We're going to keep, but time is short. Who knows how much longer we have to get you this information? Who knows how much longer these videos will stay on YouTube? So I'm trying to get your attention to please get this information, try to learn it, download all these diagrams, get this information. Even if you can't download the videos, I encourage you to download the videos, because it helps explain this. You may not be able to understand by just reading the documents, but there are teachings that in the notes that explain how all this works. But simply put, you can see the apocalypse lasts longer than 7 years. You have 7 good years, 7 bad years, okay? So that's what we were showing 5 years ago. 5 years ago, okay? So nothing has changed. Everything is the same. Everything is on track. All the prophecies are being fulfilled. Now that's why when I say to you, the sixth trumpet, the fifth trumpet, if you're not watching, okay, if you just say, if you don't know any of this, you just think, oh, it looks like it's the end of days, but we don't know exactly when. You're not watching. You're not watching to see if something like this is happening. But if you knew this information, you'd be watching. You would be looking very closely. You'd be studying the scriptures. Okay? So yes, there's a locust army. And, of course, everything happening with the virus is related to that. Yes. Now, each one of these is released. But that doesn't mean the whole prophecy happens in this short period of time of a few months, 6 months, okay? 6 months, etc. It means it's open, it's released at that time, okay? So that's released that time. And now we got the sixth trumpet. Now we're in the mystery of the seventh trumpet, okay? So we should begin to understand that. That's why we got a whole playlist on the seven thunders, the seventh trumpet, the 1,335 days, all of this. All of this is in these diagrams, okay? Now, this we got from the book of Esther to prove all this, okay? So that's why I'm just saying, go back to the old videos. We can't explain the same things over and over, but we'll summarize a couple things real quick. All right, Daniel's timeline. You can see we said Daniel's timeline. These two strips of paper last 2,300 days. 2,300 days happens twice, as you can see. You have one period, another period. Also proved through Daniel's timeline that the 7-year tribulation period is right here, okay? And this is 7 years. Obviously, it lasts longer than 7 years, okay? So through the book of Esther, through the book of Daniel, in this timeline, it is accurate, okay? There are things that we should watch for, all right? In those 7 years, it begins. Daniel tells us the precise date it begins, and it ends at Armageddon. Okay, so that's the other video. We're not going to spend a whole lot of time. We're just going to move quickly because in this one, we're talking about how you can see in the beginning, it starts right here. And each half period of time, actually Daniel's timeline is right here on this one, but each half period of time is 3.5 years. Guys, this is how the whole channel works. The whole channel works off these 2 pages. And how it works is you have 3.5 years of a time we call the Lamb reigns 1,260 days. That's a whole playlist. All the prophecy related to that time period appears in that playlist. Then you have a time over here of the seals. Okay? Then it goes another 3.5 years. This is the seals. So then during the seals, we have all the teachings related to the time period of the seals of 3.5 years. Understand? Then we come to another 7 years. That begins over here. And then we have a whole playlist that explains, okay, the time period of the trumpets. Okay, so a whole playlist. This whole channel works this way. There's basically 4 sections. Once that, after those trumpets are concluded, then we go into, then there's a period over here of the bowls. Okay, the bowls are over here. And that's another whole playlist. So the whole channel is organized by this diagram. So what you do is when you go to each section and you'll see that there's a diagram like this and then there's accompanying notes with that section. So if it's the Lamb reigns 1,260 days, that's that playlist. If it's the seals, it's over here, that's that playlist. The trumpets, the bowls, etc. So each one has this diagram front and then all the accompanying prophecy and scripture and teaching of the videos. Okay? So that's how the channel works. We'll get into some more of things like that in the future. But here, let's look at this here. Now in this one, we showed you this before, how we can prove the start of the tribulation by 5 examples. Okay? So we showed you that. Go watch the other video. We proved 5 proofs of the start of the tribulation biblically. This goes by the eclipses. This goes by Daniel's timeline, which you see here. The woman clothed with the sun. So in this video, what we're talking about is, you can see the early period of time, there's more happening in the heavens than on the earth. Okay, there's less physical manifestation of the signs early on, and then they increase as we go. So as we go, if we look at our notes, you can see on the side, we have the years, okay? 2010, okay, 2014 is when the seal starts. So then you got the seals, then you got the trumpets, then you got the bowls, okay? So as it increases, there's more prophecy being fulfilled, more important prophecy being fulfilled, more of the timelines transpiring, okay? So as we mentioned before, let's go over now the summary of the time times and a half of time, 42 months and 1,260 days. Now we can show all of them, okay? We can show all of them to you. So September 22nd, 2017, that happened. Woman clothed with the sun. Happened on what? Yom Kippur. All right? Many of these happen precisely on Yom Kippur. Okay, so that triggers 7 years. So that's right, what you see right here, 1,260 days. This is 3.5 years. Now, at the conclusion of that, it goes a little bit longer because it goes to Pentecost. Okay, so Pentecost is 2 months and 15 days later. Okay, so after that, 1,260 days is precisely on the first day of the first month. 2.5 months later is Pentecost. Now you can see over here, 1,335 days, that is, the woman is given 2 wings of an eagle. Okay, so the Revelation says she's given 2 wings for the eagle for what? For a time, times, and a half a time. So this is our first one. Number 1, 1,260 days, sign of the woman clothed with the sun, 3.5 years. Our second one, after that period, 3.5 years. Okay, she's given 2 wings of an eagle. All right. Now our next one is, actually, let's go in chronological. Okay, in the time. So you have that one. Then shortly thereafter, then you have the 2 witnesses. The 2 witnesses begin to prophesy 1,260 days. You see in Revelation 11. I didn't write it down. I think it's verse 2 and 3. Okay, so they have 3.5 years. So they also go, and those go to 1,335 days. Okay, so that corresponds to this. That's why we put this over here. And we also learn from Daniel that Daniel also was praying, mourning, sackcloth, 3.5 weeks, relating to years. Okay, so we could see that in Daniel. So that is that next prophecy. Then what we have, so that's 3.5 years. We have 3.5 years here. Our next one is the beast receives his power 42 months. So in Revelation 13:5, it said the beast receives his power 42 months. That 42 months, okay, we know from the book of Esther. So here what we have to do, this is why the videos are helpful, guys, because I have to type a lot of notes to explain all this. It's easier for me to draw this and then explain it. So in the book of Esther, we learned that in Purim, Haman is killed with the 10 sons, related to the 10 kings. That's in the 12th year on Purim. So if we take that date and we work backwards, we come to when Haman, the Antichrist, is revealed. So Haman is the Antichrist. He is revealed in Esther chapter 3. Okay? So that is coming up with the 42 months after this Purim in the 12th month. Okay, so that's what we can see here. So this is in Daniel 7:25. The Antichrist, those 42 months, begins when he blasphemes. Okay, so he blasphemes. So this is the Antichrist, Donald Trump. Donald Trump blasphemed on the precise day we are watching. I am the chosen one, second coming of God, King of Israel. Okay, that was our marker. All right, so that corresponds with Daniel 7:25 and Revelation 13:5. Those are the same 3.5 years, 42 months. Okay, so now we have all of these being fulfilled. And our next one, which we just showed you, is in Daniel 12, verse 7. We have the army prepared. It's also called the Great Harvest. So this is you can see it here on the diagram. This is the beginning of this is the 6th trumpet army. So that begins at this time period here. Okay? And so just like the other time periods on this diagram, what you can see, what it does is once you're there, then it just goes opposite. Then you go 3.5 years and you end up here. So what this is this is the year 2023, and this is Yom Kippur, okay? So that is where this 3.5 years falls. 3.5 years, Daniel 12. It says, he will scatter the power of the holy people a time, times and a half a time, 3.5 years. So now we know that is the 24th day of the first month in the 3rd year of Cyrus. So you can see over here that army is prepared in the 3rd year of Cyrus, Daniel 10, verse 1. Okay, so it was also at this time, okay, during that 3rd year of Cyrus, we have the mark of the beast. So you can see what we did is we have a green highlight saying this is fulfilled, this is fulfilled, this is fulfilled. So we got the daily sacrifice taken away, that's fulfilled. We got the peace deal, that's fulfilled. We got the mark of the beast, that's fulfilled. All right, now you can see abomination that makes desolate. All right, so that's another, that's November 10th in the year 2021. Okay, so that's not highlighted, okay, because we're not at that time. So let's watch for something to happen. We have a lunar eclipse, November 18th, 2021, highlighting that point in time. Okay, so you can see over here that we have the increase of the prophecy here. We have the time of the trumpets. We have the time of the bowls. All right, and now what we have is all the 3.5 years. We have all of them right here on this one page. I'll make this available as a one-page document. If you have a laptop or something, you can see it big, and I'll also make it in 2 pages. Okay, but basically you can see we got all of them. 3.5 years. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those are the major prophecies in the book of Daniel and the book of Revelation related to the 3.5 years. Okay? And we can prove this, as we mentioned before, in the book of Esther, because in the book of Esther, the king sits on the throne for 3 years and he holds a feast 180 days. That's 3.5 years. But precisely, it's 3 years and 180 days. Okay? So what 180 days is 6 months. So every one of these periods of time is 180 days, 180 days, okay? That's the meaning of what the 5 months is. So in the locust, in the 5th trumpet, it has this sting, 5 months. That means it falls within a window of time of when that trumpet is released. Okay, it's released. It doesn't mean the whole thing happens in 5 months. It means that's when it's open, that's when it's released. Just want to point out that the angel Gabriel tells Daniel, "Behold, I will make you know what shall be in the end of the indignation for an appointed time, or a Moedim feast, the end shall be." So the angel Gabriel shows Daniel in his timeline that it must predict the 7-year tribulation. So it's on a feast. The feast is a Moedim. The Yom Kippur, the feast of Revelation 12, it happened on Yom Kippur. So the 7-year tribulation begins. You can see it there in blue. It says Day of Atonement. That's Yom Kippur in the year 2017 on the Enoch calendar. This is clear in Revelation 11:19. The temple of God was open in heaven, and there was seen in the temple the Ark of the Covenant. That's Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. Okay? So all the information we have is links in the description field for all these timelines. You'll go to Google Drive, get the PDF files. Okay, go to Daniel's timeline, watch the playlist, okay, learn these details. The book of Esther, the king's timeline, also shows us the same thing. So now we have the summary of Daniel and Revelation in every timeline of 3.5 years. We just shared it to you in this video. We will have the notes of the diagram you see here, also in the description field, both 2 pages, 1 pages. So guys, fear God, give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment has come, and worship him. Amen.